Peace, hotep, blessings, and greetings. This is Tex Masson from thctrust.org. This is somewhat of a educational / promotional video. In this video, I'm going to keep it basic as possible. But if you want all the references for the material I'm speaking about, make sure you visit the website www.thctrust.org. Go create an account and make sure you select a free account if it's your first time visiting the website. Log in and check out the resources, because I think if you're studying law, commerce, trust, estate, and you're trying to figure out how to correct your status and get back to the land, then we'll definitely be that type of resource. We like to provide, it's easy. Some people have the problem where they can't find any information and they don't know what to study. Usually that happens when you're brand new to this information and you're hearing things for the first time. And then you have the people that are just overwhelmed with so much information that they don't know what to focus on and pay attention to. So at thctrust.org, especially now since we've rebuilt the website, we try to only put information on there that's very relevant and probably important somewhere into the medium, somewhere in your medium range goals, as far as setting yourself up, being prepared to operate in these multiple jurisdictions, knowing how to operate in trust, helping understand who you are, how to operate commercially in regard to everything that's going on in the government, which everything is not just spiraling out of control. There's order to what's taking place. Part of the problem is we have a skewed perspective and we don't really understand the systems that are executing. We've been taught that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land and we have rights, and we have bought that and it's become a part of our psyche. So then when they start operating different from what we've been taught, our first thing is, we get upset, we feel some type of way about it, and we start to protest or denounce what they're doing. And consequently, that type of behavior, they have already legislated a way to deal with that type of behavior. That type of behavior gives them the authority under the legislation to declare you as an enemy of state or a belligerent, which gives you a whole separate status, in which is a status of where they suspend all your rights to habeas corpus, your rights to recourse, etc., etc. So there is a lot of chaos going on around you, but at thctrust.org, we're just another resource for you to help understand what's going on and to create the templates and the documentation that you need to properly correct your status and get back to the land, as opposed to being lost at sea. And I guess that's the greatest opening to talk about Admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, which is what we're going to talk about. I'm talking about this because a lot of people, especially people that are part of patriot movements and sovereign movements, they can get very accusatory real quick and accuse all the officials of the United States government of committing treason. And a lot of times it comes from a lack of understanding of what has taken place. So first, we can agree that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Notice it's the supreme law of the land, because what we're going to do is we're going to show the divide between the law of the land, which deals with estates, trusts, birthrights, inherent rights, constitutions. These are the rights where, equality, these principles are part of the laws of the land, right? On the land side, property is passed by inheritance, or based off of your descent or your blood ties and your ancestral use to that property. Things are passed down. Perhaps some can argue that things were sold under the common law system, but today, land and property under the common law system can't really be sold, because under the commercial side, which we're going to talk about, which is the Admiralty and the laws of the seas, the types of money, I'm going to call it, even though it's not money, because money only exists under the common law side. See, money is asset based. Silver, gold, something tangible that you can put in your hand or put in your pocket to serve as a medium of exchange. That's the definition. That's the organic definition of money under the common law. But under the commercial system, they don't trade anything tangible as far as money. They trade interests and obligations and claims of interest on someone else's right to property. So these obligations, these debt-based instruments is what they are. They're always somebody else's promise to restore or pay the value. These obligations is debt-based, and they're considered money under the commercial system. So these two different sections of law, kind of sort of the laws of the land as versus the laws of the seas, they're almost the yin and the yang as far as the effect. They're both parts of the law, but they're inverse opposites. And that's what we have to understand, because when we start feeling some type of way about the different jurisdictional laws that's taking place around us, we start to get, emotional and thinking that it's a war going on and that somebody's stealing something from us, when in reality, there's a maxim that says that which is endless is reprobated in law. So when you begin to understand that, when people form under land, they live together peacefully in a form of civil order, you're operating under your constitutional, common law of the land. Then there's times, in the great world where, people go to war with each other. Then you have a different jurisdiction that overlays, which is military jurisdictions and international treaty-based maritime, law. So it's a different type of law for the situation, right? And then, so that's why they say that which is endless is reprobated in law. There is a law that deals with movable goods, right? There is a law that deals with motion and communication and everything else. A lot of times this is all under the umbrella of commerce. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not a right or wrong or good or bad thing. You shouldn't look at things like that. You have to maintain your equanimity, which is basically when you're learning about these things, you just have to, don't take it personal. Don't feel that you've been cheated. You got to remain equanimous, because if you start feeling a certain way, you're going to start projecting certain things, and your perspective is going to approach the information in a certain way, and you might be missing the critical pieces of what you need to comprehend so you can figure out how to navigate and operate in this in the present commercial system, which is Admiralty law. So Admiralty law, as a matter of fact, you're in the Admiralty jurisdiction because the Admiralty, what Admiralty is, when you look it up on cornelllaw.edu, they tell you that Congress had the purpose of expanding the Admiralty jurisdiction to facilitate commerce, both nationally and internationally. But I want you to really focus and consider the fact that the reason that the Admiralty jurisdiction exists is to facilitate commerce. So you have to ask yourself, and for people who've been studying this for a while, they already know, but I'm going to ask the question just so it can draw you into the right direction of thinking. Why was there a need for commerce to facilitate commerce, right? And this kind of goes into just what I said. Over numerous bankruptcies, the 1933 bankruptcy, the bankruptcy that happened in the 60-somethings, every bankruptcy, there was substance taken, whether it was, for example, what happened to the monetary policy, where they slowly passed different legislations because of national emergencies, where they've taken the substance out of the currency. See, when the government operates under the commercial side, which is a separate jurisdiction from that of the land, which is where the people are that elected the government. And actually the government is more in the military jurisdiction, which is under the commercial laws, right? Anything outside of the land is with the law of the sea, so to speak. So Congress has expanded the Admiralty jurisdiction to facilitate commerce nationally and internationally. And again, it was to facilitate commerce. Every time Congress does something, say for example, to facilitate commerce, well, Congress has the right to govern commerce through the commercial clause in the Constitution, right? So the point I'm trying to make is, although a lot of, patriot movements and people will accuse the government, individual workers and officers, of having committed treason and sold out, what they don't understand is that this Constitution that we know is the supreme law of the land is the same document that gave Congress the power to legislate and enact laws on the land. And it was Congress that passed the legislation for Admiralty. As a matter of fact, there's something called the Admiralty Extension Act. And that specific act was used to extend the jurisdiction of Admiralty inland. As a matter of fact, they said all 50 states, and everywhere for that matter, has an easement, so to speak, which is a right-of-way to the sea. But really what they were doing was they were creating the opportunity to extend the commercial jurisdiction onto the land so that they can make claims against property. So they can make in rem and in personam claims against the property of the United States and its instrumentalities. So that's the purpose of Admiralty. It was to facilitate commerce. Now, let's talk about who would benefit from the facilitation of commerce, right? So to say to facilitate commerce also insinuates that there was something broken in commerce. And that thing that was broken was, before, under the natural rules of commerce, which are consistent with the jurisdiction of the common law, is if I want to buy something from you, I give you, I want to buy your bag of apples, so I give you 1 silver coin. We both got equal value and we're done. That's the natural rules of commerce. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the government in the United States over several years needed to regulate the price of money, so they made it unlawful to trade in currency. Now, in order for them to do that and trespass on your inherent birthright, because remember, you have the supreme claim, they had to give you a remedy and an exemption, because the only reason why they were facilitating commerce is for foreign claimants, right? Not people with an inherent birthright on the land, because they didn't need anything. They already had a supreme claim to everything. They didn't have to barter the property that they owned to receive nothing, because they had everything, so to speak, right? So Admiralty is used to facilitate commerce, and it's really used against you, because if you don't understand the Admiralty jurisdiction, then you find yourself in there lost at sea, not comprehending or understanding or knowing how to assert and exercise your rights as a freehold heir under the common law. To be able to do that, you have to know something about trusts and how to operate trust, and you have to have a proper trust set up. You should. And you should have some articles filed, and there's a couple things you should do with the birth certificate. On that note, I'm going to go ahead again and pitch the website, www.thctrust.org, because all we're about over there is this type of research, the stuff that I'm dropping on you right now, and we're providing templates to help you correct your status and to make the proper recordings to be set up properly in trust, secure party filings and everything else. Although we have some services where we do some of these things for you as far as document preparation, our focus is to keep the cost very minimum and create the templates and the education system so that you can learn, comprehend what's going on, and do these things for yourself. But let me get back to our discussion of the Admiralty jurisdiction. So as a matter of fact, I think it was President Roosevelt or something, there was an executive order signed that talked about the yellow fringe around the flag, and they let you know in that executive order that that was a military flag. So when you walk into the United States district courts and you see the yellow fringe around the flag, or whenever you see the president or anyone from the executive department speaking on TV and you see that yellow fringe of the flag, that lets you know that you are in the Admiralty jurisdiction and that you are in the executive branch of the United States of America Corporation. And All the references for everything I said, again, it's on the website. You can look at the link that says under occupation, under military rule, and you'll see what's going on. So, in Admiralty law, right, and this is the last part that I'm going to say about Admiralty, and then we'll go into another video next where we will talk about a different form of military law, which is the martial law. And we're going to talk about the Lieber Code and the War Powers Act, and the fact that the United States is at war, so we can find ourselves as peaceful inhabitants, and that we don't find ourselves as, you know, enemy combatants or belligerents or something like that, so that the War Powers Act goes into effect against us and suspends our right to habeas corpus and all of our rights to recourse. We're going to talk about that next, but I want to finish this part on Admiralty, because this is a little bit of the background that you're going to have to have. You're going to have to understand the contrast of the Admiralty jurisdiction versus the laws of the land. You have to see the contrast between the two of them, because there's a concept where people will say on the internet, and you probably will hear this in your studies, that the United States government has declared war on the citizens. That's not necessarily true. There is an issue that you can perceive to be that, but that mere perception is leading you in the path of becoming an enemy of the state. There is a situation that we're going to explain so that you know how to play your role in that situation and not be a combatant or a protester or an enemy of the state, but you can remain a peaceful inhabitant and enforce the remedy that the United States has provided and have put in place by necessity. Because there is a remedy for peaceful inhabitants. And again, we're going to talk about that on the next video. But let's see what else. I just want to make sure I'm not leaving anything out. Okay, so let's say this part about Admiralty. Admiralty law is the commercial law. So it's not, and it's the law that deals with movable goods. So what is important to know, and this is, again, you can understand more why the United States has chosen to operate under the Admiralty jurisdiction, right? Admiralty jurisdiction deals with the transfer and the conveyance of movable goods. So in the next video, when we talk about the martial law and the Lieber Code and the reversionary interest, we're going to talk about the birth certificate, or the certificate of live birth, because it in your hand is a receipt. Excuse me. It's a receipt for goods. It's a security. It's the securities of the United States. And Admiralty pursues claims against property either in rem or in personam. And you can look up what the difference of those are. But what I want you to understand is that when somebody's proceeding against your name, this has nothing to do with your constitutional rights. They're doing a in personam Admiralty claim. So there's a specific flow of what goes on, right? The name on your birth record has nothing to do with any living individual. And it works to their benefit that you don't understand that, because you don't understand the maritime proceeding or the laws governing. And what they're doing is they're escrowing funds from your estate. They're using Admiralty to facilitate commerce, and then they're using your 14th Amendment citizen to create money, right? Because the thing on the birth certificate is many things, right? We've already identified it as an agency. We've already talked about it as a blind trust. We've said it's evidence of an estate. I even told you in this video it is a receipt, and it is. But something else that it is, and you can look this up under, as a matter of fact, if you're one of the premium members in a subscription group, under the commercial matrix where I have all the documents, the status documents, there's something called a special purpose banking affidavit. And if you read the statutes and the codes in there, you'll also begin to understand that the agency identified on your birth record is also a bank. It's a bank under the commercial system. So understanding that under the commercial system, and so understanding that Admiralty is the law that Congress has used to facilitate commerce nationally and internationally, so that we can move around this debt-based monetary system and have it be accepted, right? Man, what was that point that I was just bringing up? God Dog it, I lost it. That's what happens when you smoke too much herb. But that's the point that I was bringing up. Admiralty was used to facilitate commerce, and so is that 14th Amendment citizen. That thing that's on your birth certificate, known as an agency. It's an instrumentality of the United States. And when you do the research on it, you will see that it too was created to facilitate commerce, right? So under the commercial system, there is no substance-based money, and therefore you don't have anything to lose by giving over whatever it is that they're pursuing, because all they want is money. And in the commercial system, money is debt-based. So we're going to talk about that in the form of remedy in the next video. Again, this video is just kind of to give you an understanding that we're operating under Admiralty. There's one more thing that I want to say about this, but I'm going to probably expound on it more in the next video too. I want to talk about the oath of office, because we all know that judges have an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. As a matter of fact, some people have a hard time, but I've always been able to get oaths of office and insurance policies and bonds for judges. As a matter of fact, again, we have resources and template letters that you can send out for that type of stuff. You can find those documents on thctrust.org. But the reason why I was making that a judge has an oath to support and defend the Constitution, because under the Articles of the Uniform Commercial Code, and that's like when you're getting into secured transactions, in the event you would ever have to get to a place where you're filing a commercial lien, that is a bona fide authenticated security agreement by the debtor. So don't think that the Constitution is out of the window and that there is no more Constitution and all that. No, it does exist, but it's being held and operated in trust. So you have to understand something about trust law in order to invoke your constitutional rights. Otherwise, you're going to be lost and subject to the sea of space, which is the Admiralty jurisdiction, right? So what's important to know is that judges do take an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Yes, they do have another oath too. That's a loyalty oath. And when we get into the martial law and the military law and the workings of the Admiralty jurisdiction, as well as the military foreign occupation jurisdiction, you'll understand where the secondary oath comes in and why it comes in. And these oaths it's not like one is superior to the other, but it's not like, oh no, which one are they operating on? I don't know. It's for you to know that they have taken 2 oaths. It's for you to be competent so that you know how to control and administer your affairs. Because if you don't know how to bring in that contract authenticated by the debtor, known as their oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, if you don't know how to make that a part of the issue, then they're going to enforce their oath of loyalty, which is to the military occupation. When we get into the martial law and the Lieber Code, it's going to tell you that the foreign occupation requires the magistrate judges to take an oath of allegiance, right? But you don't have all the facts yet, so don't think that anything's being stolen from you. What we have to know is that we have to get more competent. Yo, thank you for watching this video. Please do me a favor, right? Y'all see that I'm on my stuff. This is what I do. Sometimes I wake up, I study all day, I eat, I study more, and then I go to sleep, right? Sometimes that's all I do all day is study, because this stuff is that serious. And I know that many people don't have the time or the circumstances to be able to put as much time and effort in this as I have and as we have. So I'm making template documents so that everything that I teach about, not only will you learn it, you will have a tangible document that you can go put in effect what you're learning to better correct your status. So please help support us by joining thctrust.org. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. And look for the next video, because it's coming.